Welcome to B2B Life with Jeff Brummer. This is your chance to listen in on conversations with successful entrepreneurs and business owners on their journey to success. Every story is different, but after consulting thousands of businesses over the last 20 years managing their business payments, Jeff has seen what works and what doesn't. From inspiration to tactics to a good laugh, helping leaders build more fulfilling businesses and lives is what B2B Life is all about.
Welcome to the B2B Life Show, where we connect with high performers and you find out what makes them tick, both professionally and personally. My name is Jeff Brummer. I've consulted over 2,600 businesses over the last 20 years in managing their business payments to align their personal and business goals. I am here today with Sarah Brown. She's the owner of TS Business Services. Sarah, hello.
Hi.
Hey, Sarah has owned TS Business Services for 3 years. They're an industry leader in accounting, bookkeeping, and Sarah herself has done books for companies for almost 20 years. So, love to have you on the podcast today. We've got a part 2 from our part 1, just kind of picking up where we left off. And Sarah, I love the fact that you came from. You're not just a small business owner, but you come from the kind of the corporate America structure, realized that you wanted to help the little guy and to help the smaller business. And so that's a little bit about how you kind of got where you're at with your current company. But why bookkeeping? Like, what about that has kind of stuck where you like that and you feel like you're an industry leader in that?
Because nobody pays attention to it. It has the biggest financial impact on your life. A lot of small business owners don't go into business thinking, man, I really want to jump into my bookkeeping software, right? Like nobody does that. It's the last thing that they think about until tax season. And then they're like, oh my gosh, it's tax season. Yeah. Right. And so if we could train them to think about that every month, because at the end of the day, it does drive your operations. So you can either check your bank account every week or every month and make sure you can make payroll, or we can dump it into a software and we can actually use good analytics to decide how you're going to progress your business forward, or if it's time to sit still, or if it's time to purchase something, or you know what I mean? Or, hey, maybe I'm shrinking, or hey, maybe my costs are going up, right? But you can't really do that if you're not tracking the data. You can't really devise a good tax strategy if you're not tracking the data. So it helps make the business owner's job easier. It also helps make the CPA's job easier, which saves you money.
Yes. Well, I love that. In fact, you definitely bring more credibility. If you're watching us on our YouTube or online, you got the Excel shirt on. So that right there speaks. What does it say? Oh, freaking sheets. Yes. Okay, perfect. I love that. I've seen that before and I'm like, I need that shirt. So that's awesome. I think, well, you got me sold. My kids have a side business. It's doing shaved ice, and I kind of handle more of the books. I want to turn over 100% of it to them, but it's super reactive. At the end of the year, we kind of scramble, and the last couple of years we've owned it. We just kind of shove it into a file that our CPA that does our year-end stuff wants from us. But I'd like to be, it's making, I mean, it doesn't make much money, but it makes enough where I'm like, man, we should probably get a little more organized here and be more proactive, which sounds like what you do. So yeah, that's awesome. Well, good. As far as yourself, this is your time to brag now. What's unique about you? You know, there's skills that you've learned and grown and developed, and there's like God-given talent that you just have. And I know some of that has helped you on both ends, helped you in this business and helped you adapt to become successful and to help your clients. Time to brag now, Sarah. What would you say are some of the things that you excel in personally that's helped you in this business?
I think probably my only God-given talent is my ability to learn. And I love learning, so that works out perfect, right?
Yeah.
I'm always learning. I don't listen to music in the car. I listen to podcasts and books. I'm always studying how
Right.
other businesses operate. I ask people when I meet with them, right? Because I want to learn what other people know so that I can help build that database and think through things and have that critical thinking a lot better. Everything else I've done through studying. Um, I like I mentioned before, I have 2 business degrees. I've taken individual classes. I'm reading all the time. I go to educational seminars. Like it's a never ending thing to be able
Okay.
to learn. So
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, to stay hungry and learn. That's there's a Stoic quote that says, I think it was Socrates, you cannot learn that which you think you already know. So it's
yeah, and so
yeah,
some of that education actually came through the School of Hard Knocks. Like as
yeah,
entrepreneurs and business owners, nobody really talks about the nights of tears, right? Or the sleepless nights or any of that stuff. We all post how great it is and the glory. And like I'm no different, right? Like I post when I go places. I
yeah,
post when I'm taking time off. But we don't talk about when we take time off, we're not really taking time off, right? So like when I've gone on vacation, I've had to send my family away so I could get stuff done or
yeah.
stuff like that. So there's definitely some School of Hard Knocks in there as well as I stumbled through starting businesses.
Yeah, it's that you kind of touched on the work-life balance. It's tough as a business owner. You like even on vacation, it's like I got to put that hour in because you got to keep that flywheel rolling because sometimes clients may have a fire that you need to put out. It's trickier. It's trickier when you're a smaller business and you haven't delegated everything maybe you want to or you could, but you eventually will get there. Um, so yeah, that makes sense. What's on podcasts? I'm a podcast junkie too. I've got a few I've talked up before. What do you like? What are you listening to, or what do you like lately? Doesn't even have to be business, but what do you love listening to, or you speak about learning? I guess we'll go down that rabbit hole of not just pure entertainment, but what more like what are you learning from podcast wise?
Ooh, I listen to several different podcasts. So probably one of the biggest ones is the Ed Milet show. And
Ooh.
then I love Ed Milet. He's amazing.
I am an Ed
Um,
Milet. I am an Ed Milet fan too. That's awesome. I didn't know you
yes.
listened. Okay.
There's another one called Main Street Business, which is spectacular. It's an attorney and a CPA, and they get together and they talk about different business structures and taxes and a variety of different topics. They're super relatable. They're only like 30 minutes long. They're not extremely long, but I actually kind of like that because you can only absorb so much information at one time.
Yeah.
So if it's long, you end up going back. And then the rest of them are all health and nutrition because I love studying health and nutrition. I'm kind of a naturalist and granola at heart, and I mean that in the
Okay.
nicest way possible, right?
Yeah.
So Burn It Nutrition is probably the most common one that I listen to, and then the Model Health Show is another big one.
Okay. So I've been on a health kick the last couple of years. So I'd love to. We put things in our show notes. I'd love for you to send me a link to. I'm already an MLet junkie. So send me those other ones with the business and the natural health podcast. I'd love to post them in our show notes and then kind of share them with our audience. Um, have you heard of the Ben Greenfield podcast? He's a kind of a health nut too. He nerds out. I've been listening to him lately.
No, but
It's
I'll
a
add
good
it to
one.
my list.
Yeah, I'll put it in our show notes too. But Ben Greenfield, he's like a biohacker and all things natural and supplement. I mean, he's really interesting. It kind of goes over my head. To your point about the half hour thing, he'll go off for like an hour and I'm like, oh my gosh, I
I have
can't
to start over. Let's listen to it again.
there's so much I don't know, and he kind of talks over my head. Yeah, I either gotta listen to it again or like hope he dumbs it down in a later episode. But funny story on Ed Milet, Sarah. So he's probably my top 3 favorites, and I've got I really enjoy a guy named Tom Bilyeu. He started Quest Nutrition Bars, speaking of nutrition, and
Mhm.
sold it for like $1 billion. But he's a little bit like Ed Milet, and then Jordan Peterson I've been listening to. So I went to a conference where I those two are at, Jordan Peterson and Tom Bilyeu. I'm done the conference. I'm in the airport. I'm walking to my flight. I look over, and sure enough, 5 feet away from me is Ed Milet. And I'm
What?
like,
No
what
way.
in the world? And I'm on my phone with my wife. I'm like, you wouldn't believe this, but I think Ed Milet is right next to me. And like he
What?
didn't hear me say that, but like I go over to him, and it's just him. The terminal isn't very crowded, and like I'm like basically walking the opposite way of my flight, and my flight's like gonna take off pretty soon. So I'm like, man, I gotta talk to this guy. Like he's made a huge impact on my life. And so I walk up to him like, hey, this is weird, but are you Ed Milet? Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I'm like, oh man, I appreciate you so much. Like,
You met him.
yeah. So
That
I'm
is
like,
awesome.
I got a picture with him, and I was like, dude, I appreciate like you're so positive and just like your mindset. I love kind of all you're doing, and appreciate what you're doing, and keep it up. So I just basically did a selfie with the two of us, and then he was like, he walked away, and he's like, he kind of was like rushing to be somewhere, and I was like, hey, go ahead. And so anyway, long story short, he looks back, and he's like, hey, by the way, what's your name? And so I tell him my name, and he's like, all right, nice to meet you, man. So I thought it was pretty crazy. I a couple of like my top podcasters, I met him, and he wasn't even going to that like conference that I was at. He was just totally there for some other random reason. So
I love it. That is
I'll have to
awesome.
send you the picture, or put the picture in our show notes. Um,
Yes.
but yeah, great podcast, just super motivational. He's obviously he's a Christian guy, but he doesn't like shove it down your throat. He just kind of weaves it in there, which is super cool. And I think he's like the Tony Robbins of, which anyone can listen to. He definitely cuts out a lot of F bombs that like a Tony Robbins would. But um,
Yeah.
so anyway, that's cool. You're cool. You listen to him. Well, good. What about what are some things that like motivate you? You're a leader in your industry. You're growing like crazy. What are things that motivate you, get you out of bed in the morning for helping you, whether it's helping your clients or being an influence on your family? Like, what are things that motivate you overall?
Oh man, so many things. I don't even know that I can narrow it down to one.
Okay.
If anybody has taught and coached at any point in their life, they've seen that light bulb kick on for that person that they're coaching, right? You watch them, they struggle, struggle,
Yeah.
struggle, struggle, and then all of a sudden that light bulb kicks on and it all connects and it all comes together and they're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing, right? So, um, being able to help make people's lives easier, bringing that work life balance to them, helping them understand that their business doesn't have to own them, right? That's a really, really tough balance for a lot of business owners and entrepreneurs, especially when you're small or just starting out or whatever, right? That business kind of consumes your life like a new relationship and maybe not even a so healthy relationship. And so, being able to help them work through that is extremely motivating. Being a good influence for two teenage girls, 13 and 15, right? Those are impressionable years, and learning good work ethic and what the value of hard work can do for you. So, becoming self employed has granted us opportunities that I maybe wouldn't have had otherwise. I have friends that I travel with that have jobs and they have to give 6 months notice for vacation. I decided to go to my condo in Myrtle Beach like a week ago, right? And so I'm
Yeah.
headed out in a couple weeks to go do that, and I can do that because I can make my own schedule and I can work from almost anywhere. Um, and my other one is I want to not have to work by the time I'm 45. So that doesn't mean I'm going to stop working, right? I just
Yeah.
want to be able to have that opportunity, and so to be able to do that, I gotta hustle.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I just turned 45, and I think I still have to work, but I understand what you're saying. You want to have the option to work because you love it, not necessarily for the financial gain of it. So that's cool.
Yep, exactly.
Good. Well, yeah, Myrtle Beach also has a fond place in my heart. We went there multiple times as when I was a kid. So growing up in Idaho, going to a beach was like amazing. So we went to Myrtle Beach a few times, and that's a good spot. So, well, good. What's a maybe what's a life hack that you found to simplify your life or to kind of maximize your time? Like, what's something you could teach us potentially where you feel like, hey, when I do this thing, like I feel like I have more time in the day. I feel like I can maximize or leverage what I'm doing a little better. Like, what's something that you've done maybe to simplify your life? I've kind of, is there
Oh
something
man,
that
so many things. This has been
yeah,
like a
maybe,
work in progress, right?
yeah,
Um,
something that you feel like's lately been good for you, maybe.
One is setting really good boundaries. You don't have to
Okay.
answer your phone at 9 o'clock at night, right? I implemented last year no meeting Mondays. So
Ooh,
unless I'm onboarding a client, I do not have meetings on Mondays. And this is my time to work with my staff. This is when we do training.
okay.
This is when I get to work on the business, right? So instead of working in the business, I'm working on the business.
Yeah.
Um, Other one is delegation. I don't have to do all the things and be all of the things. When I hired my first employee 3 years ago, she probably spent the first 6 months wondering why I hired her because I was afraid to hand her anything and delegate to her. So it took 6 months for me to be able to like
Yeah.
work into that. Right? As entrepreneurs, like this is our baby. We want to own it and we want it to be done as good as we are. And so learning how to let go of that control was a challenge, but delegation has really been helpful. And then
Yeah.
I'm always looking for tools for automation, which is super helpful as well.
Yeah. Huh. That's no automation and delegation are definitely key. And it's like you said that people have a tendency with their business that it's their baby, they do it this way, and then just like your accounting, just like the accounting, like once they kind of turn that over, they realize that they can pay somebody that's far more experienced, get a lot more out of it, have it done the right way, and it's just one less hat that they have to wear. Hopefully, give them better work-life balance if they can work on the business rather than in the business. So
Yeah, can I nerd out on you with some numbers for a little bit for just like one
yeah,
second? So
yeah,
this is a coaching exercise I do with a number of clients. So we figure out their revenue and right, like how much they're making per hour essentially, and depending upon the business, depends on that number. So we charge a flat rate. It probably takes us a few hours to do that. If we charge hourly at 65 bucks an hour for a junior advisor, if you are getting paid more than $65 an hour, right? Let's say it's $200 an hour. Totally just making up a number, but if you're doing your own books, you're paying $200 an hour to make your own books. Because if you're doing your own books, you're not out doing what you're good at, making money. So
yeah,
a lot of times it really is a cost savings, not a expense to add
yeah.
outside services to your business.
So you're kind of there before they can hire internally, like a controller, or a internal bookkeeper. You're kind of um, are you predominantly, I'm assuming you're predominantly entities lower than 3-4 million in revenue. Is that kind of where you play?
I would like to say yes to that, but every time I try to put a label on the perfect client, I end up kind of blowing that out of the water, right? So originally I said a half a million in revenue was my cap out. And then I got real estate developers that do way more than that because that's the nature of their business, but they're operating independently and have independent contractors. And then I was like, okay, well, we'll do it by employees. So I was like 5 employees or less. And
Oh,
then I ended up with a dog groomer that had like 8 employees, but it was no big deal. So I would like to say I put some hard parameters on that, but I really don't. So it kind of depends on the nature of the business and what they're doing. I've never not met with a business to see how they're operating and if we're able to help. But if I'm not able to help them or it doesn't fit our business model, then I have other bookkeepers or people I can refer them to help fulfill that gap. Right. So I'll consult
okay.
with them and just help solve those problems, whether it's me helping them or somebody else. Because I'm a firm believer that business is only good if it's mutually beneficial. When you start operating outside your niche, it becomes not mutually beneficial anymore. And so you're not really doing a service to anybody.
Oh, good point. So if you're trying to take on a client that you haven't really taken on that demographic or that the needs that they require, it kind of, and you're already busy enough, it's like it's pulling you away from what you're doing well at. Therefore, you're almost doing a disservice to the rest of your clients because you're not focused. It sounds like. potentially.
Yeah. Disservice them, disservice the clients, disservice to my poor staff that has to deal with the consequences of my decisions, right? So I
Yeah,
have to consider their work-life balance as well.
yeah, makes sense. Well, what's something you've noticed with your clients or you in your own business that is a business expense that you don't mind buying, whether it improves your personal life or improves the business? Like, what's something you don't mind purchasing as maybe a perk of being a business owner, or even if your clients you see some of their purchases, like what's something that you can say that's pretty cool about being a business owner where you enjoy buying this thing that does this for me.
A house cleaner,
Ooh,
100% house cleaner. Yes,
nice.
absolutely. I work a
Do
lot.
you
When I'm not working, I don't want to be cleaning.
can you justify that as a business expense if you work out of your house? Have you been?
Ooh, questionable. I have not expensed it to the business.
Okay.
I mean, I guess realistically I could. So,
Maybe.
I actually charge rent to my boyfriend. And so I depreciate my house as an investment, part of it, right? So it really is a business expense at that point. Plus we both office out of here. So I never no, I don't want to be tossed under the audit radar. So I haven't done
Right,
that. And
yeah,
it's pretty
okay.
cheap,
Yeah.
right? I think it cost me like $200 a month or something like that.
Yeah,
But
okay.
totally 100% worth it.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's the one of the perks of having a successful company is take things off your plate you don't want to do. What does your morning routine look like? What is your first 60 minutes, 2 hours of your day look like? Or what are things that set you up for success in your day, being
Ooh,
a
this
high
is a good
performer?
question. Yeah, so I've been working on this a little bit. I used to be very disciplined about I'd get up at 4, I'd go to the gym at 4:30, I was done at 5:30. But one of my goals in life was to not have to wake up to an alarm. So I kind of threw that to the wayside a couple years ago and I fell out of that habit. So now I do a little bit different. I wake up, I usually wake up between 6 and 6:30 on my own without an alarm, which is awesome. I'll drink a cup of coffee. Terry and I sit down on the couch and we discuss what our day looks like, what we're doing, what's going well that week. Or we both partake in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. So we'll kind of nerd out about that for a little bit.
Nice.
And then I'll go to the gym about 7:30 ish.
Mhm.
I use ish kind of loosely because it's usually not right at 7:30, but I try to get there about that time, right?
Yeah.
And then I'll work out for about I'll work out for about an hour, and then I'll come home and I usually start work. If I don't check my email before I go, I'll start jumping into emails and stuff like that right away. So
Okay.
I no longer hit the ground running like hardcore in the morning, right? I try to make some personal time for me in the morning because sometimes if you don't take that personal time in the morning, I'm not going to make time for it in the afternoon. And I think it's super duper important that you get that in,
Yeah.
especially when you have family and partners.
Yeah, I agree. You gotta take before you get on the treadmill or the proverbial what's it the not
The
the roller
wheel.
coaster, the wheel, the hamster wheel. That's
Yeah.
the word. Yeah,
Yeah.
you gotta kind of set some intention for the day and take some time for yourself to align hey, what do I truly want to get done today before you kind of get running, it's ready, not ready, shoot, aim. It's ready, aim, shoot. So yeah, I'm the same way with the gym too. I try to get the gym in. It kind of helps me think clearer and get your body moving. And there's so many benefits to that. So that's great. Well, good. As far as I kind of wanted to nerd out in our part one, you mentioned Zero and QuickBooks. Some of my hesitations with my current accounting is I really don't have visibility in with QuickBooks kind of along the way. I feel like sometimes I don't have the reports I need for let's say for the shaved ice business. What's your take on when Zero versus kind of getting in the weeds here? What's your take on Zero versus QuickBooks as far as the view in for your clients. Like, are you recommending more and more Zero, or what's your take on that?
I'm not necessarily recommending more and more Zero just yet.
Okay.
Some things I like about Zero is I can do class tracking regardless of which level of service or subscription you have, and I love that. A downside is their subcategories are not as good as QuickBooks Online. QuickBooks Online integrates more with outside softwares than Zero does, right? So
Yeah.
that's extremely helpful. But QuickBooks can also be glitchy, and honestly, their help desk is terrible. I only call them when I know I'm going to have to escalate it, right? And with
Wow.
Zero, I haven't had that problem. So it
Okay.
just kind of depends on what it is and what's going on. So a lot of the more simplistic companies that we're working with, say like a real estate agent or something of that nature, I think Zero is a far better option. If you're starting to get a little bit more complicated, I'm still leaning towards the QuickBooks Online, but that may change as I dive deeper into Zero and get a better understanding of the software and the inner workings of it.
Okay. So what about price wise? Are they pretty comparable?
Zero is way cheaper.
Oh,
Way,
it is
way cheaper.
Okay.
Yeah. So QuickBooks most expensive subscription is like $200 a month, and Zero's is $74.
Okay. So we talked also in part one about the credit card integration. I'm obviously going to favor our Capital One Spark Card. The integration you found with both QuickBooks Online, and then I think we also have a desktop integration where it flows over. What's your take? Like, give it to me real, like on that integration with QuickBooks. Is there anything we could do better? Like, what does it do well, or what do you guys use that at all for?
So as an accounting professional, bookkeeping professional, I kind of hold a soft spot in my heart for the desktop QuickBooks, right? However, their integrations are terrible. Their banking integrations are not good, right? QuickBooks Online definitely has the preferred integration option for that specifically. So
Okay.
it just works, right? Like that, the transactions come in automatically. We categorize them and then they're there. Versus with desktop, you had to push it each time, so it's a little bit more labor intensive. They
So
really work on streamlining the online stuff.
yeah. Well, it seems like they're pushing people to online, and less people use desktop. So when we push the transactions to QuickBooks, how often do you guys categorize them? Do we push them? I don't know how that works. Do we push the credit card transactions daily or weekly, and then you go in? Like, how does the logistics of that work?
So I'm guessing you guys probably do it a couple times a day. I haven't actually sat there
Okay.
and watched the frequency of which that comes in, but I'm going to say at least every day, right? Because when we jump into an account, we can see when the last refresh was, and so I've never really seen it more than a day. If we need to update it immediately, there is an update button so we can bring them in. We try to touch everybody's account at least 2 times a month for categorization before we jump into reconciliation. So
Okay.
we're not actually in there every day, but I have had zero issues with any. The only issue I had with Capital One with integration is I had to learn how to do it properly because I have multiple Capital One accounts. Because I actually have them for different businesses, right? And so
Yeah.
it was trying to pull in both of them. And so learning, because I didn't actually connect both of them and then select the one, I tried to only integrate the one. So learning that little idiosyncrasy was a little bit different, but otherwise works fantastic. Once I learned it, was great.
Okay, that's what I was going to touch on is if you're created, a lot of my clients, they'll create their bookkeeper, their accountant, or their controller as an account manager. And then as an account manager, if you have access to multiple businesses, we should be syncing those all up. So it's one login, you'll see multiple entities. Are you finding that do you do that? Does it make it confused? I mean, outside of your one instance there, have you found that that's a little more convenient to have one login and multiple clients?
I do not have one login for multiple clients for
Okay.
Capital One. Actually, that's a fantastic idea. Usually a lot of people just give us their login information.
Oh, okay. So you're
Yeah, I would.
logging the primary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay. Well, yeah, if you like, we could maybe even do like a separate training video outside of this, but we probably should be more clear with that because I think that if you wanted one login, it's kind of nice to have. But either way, that's good to know. And you guys don't like pay any of your clients' bills, do you? Or you're more reactive. You're not proactively paying bills, right? Okay.
No, so I've worked with a lot of people to set up automatic AP or accounts payable, and help them put that into a more automated process, and so they don't have to be touching it all the time. 2024, I'm looking at adding that as a service, but that's not going to be till late 2024.
Okay, so you're not paying it. Are you paying their actual credit card bill with the bank on file? Or are you not even doing that? Okay, you're not even doing that.
Nope. And honestly, I haven't had anybody ask us to pay their credit card bill. I think a lot of people have it on the auto pay option.
Yeah, or they want to manage their own cash, and that's one more
Hmm.
to our talking point earlier. That's one more thing they probably eventually could and should give up, where if like you created a service for that, hey, we'll pay your bills, let's get on the same page and let's structure this around how you want it to look with your cash flow. Like that might be a good another layer of service for you guys, it sounds like. So
Yeah, and one of the cool things about having a dedicated bookkeeper is they'll see your pattern of spending. So if something falls out of pattern, we'll actually reach out and say, "Hey, this
yeah.
this doesn't look right," right? So if we're used to seeing that payment every month and suddenly we don't, and it
Okay.
catches our eye, we'll reach out and say something.
Okay, excellent. Well, good. So yeah, last part of our conversation is the fun part. You've got some clients getting the 2% cash back with us. You may even have some travel clients getting the rewards on travel. I know you love to travel. We kind of talked a little bit about that. What do you feel like with the cash or with the travel rewards? Like what do you feel is one of the great trips that you've been on, maybe where you have used one of those, like some of the rewards? Like, can you think of a trip that you've had where you've enjoyed a little bit of those little travel rewards?
Oh yeah, we use those travel rewards regularly. So there was one trip 2 years ago. We went to Playa del Carmen. It routed us through Houston, so that trip was mostly paid for with miles. And then I believe it was the Houston airport. We went to the Capital One Lounge, and that thing
Oh,
was
nice.
sneaking amazing.
Yeah.
Yes,
Well,
so
Dallas, our best one's in Dallas. Was it Dallas?
we were in Dallas then. Yes, we were in
Yes. Okay.
Dallas, and so that was my first lounge experience. I was not a lounger before. Needless to say, I scope out every lounge every time I get stuck in an airport now. Right?
Yeah.
Um, the food was amazing. You didn't actually have stalls in the bathroom, so you got your own bathroom. It was really private. The seating was
Yeah.
comfortable. There was chargers everywhere. There was a bar there that we could order from if that's your jam.
Yeah.
Right? It was awesome.
Yeah, that is the premium lounge. We've got two or three more, and we're building more and more. But yeah, that's a good one. I've only been to that one once, and I feel like once you go lounge, you can't like go back out with the peasants and like go back and get
No,
stuff.
we need
Yeah,
you guys need more of those. So if you could put those on more airports, that
yeah,
would be great.
exactly. No, they
I
have
encourage
like
you to look at Atlanta next because I'm there a lot.
yeah, Atlanta would be awesome. They're just having like the Peloton. They have like Peloton bikes, and they've got like nap stations, and the toilets have bidets.
Nap
Like
and
it's
yoga
pretty,
station. Yeah.
and all the food is like super good. And they have like to go options if you just want to run in and run out if you got a flight to catch. But yeah,
And
those
to
are
have,
my
I think I ended up, no, Terry was free that time. But there was one time that we had to pay, and it was only like $50, which more than covered the food and the drinks and everything. So it wasn't expensive, right? Like when we go to the Delta, is it the Delta Lounge? I think it's the Delta Lounge. I'm pretty sure. But for us to go in, it's like $65, $75 to add me to the list to be able to go in because it's his card. And I don't really feel like we get as much of a benefit out of it. But when we left there, I didn't feel like I got hosed on the price, right? It wasn't as expensive to add a guest. So I was like, man, this is
yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, good. All right. Well, yeah, I definitely, we need to do more of those. They're awesome. They make it way easier to travel. Okay, so Playa de Carmen was a good spot as far as just relaxing. You guys do anything fun? Like what's your notable experience that you did there? Like what did you do for fun?
We went parasailing.
Nice.
We went out and explored a lot, so we're not really so hold on, let me back up. I was gonna say we're not just sit at the hotel and hang out people, but we did stay indoors and order room service one day. We had plans to jump the ferry because it was right next door to go to, Playa del Carmen or, Isla Mujer, sorry, Isla Mujer. But we woke up and we're like, "You know what? We're just gonna order room service today." So that's what we did, and then
Yeah. Mm.
we went on a couple of excursions. So one of them, we went to a cenote and we got to rappel down into the cenote and we got to do some cliff diving in there. And I don't remember what else we did because that was the most memorable part of it, but I know we had fun.
Yeah.
We went and we did the parasailing where they pulled us behind the boat, which was really, really fun. I actually really liked that. It was not an adrenaline rush. Like I was expecting it to be more adrenaline, but it was actually really relaxing.
Yeah. Yeah, we did
And then we
that
just
too.
did a lot of exploring around town.
Yeah. Yeah, we did the parasailing when we were in Cancun too, and it's pretty cool getting up there and not. I mean, I'm not a big fan of heights, but it wasn't too scary. It was just kind of like a cool way to check out the beach and the ocean and the city. So yeah.
Yeah.
Well, good. Yeah, we'll keep up the good work, racking up those rewards. You can take more good trips, and that's all I've got today. Appreciate you hopping on. Appreciate your energy, your continued service with some of our mutual clients. Look forward to working with you in the future. If you do a payables option, I would want to get you on again because we've got some cool stuff with virtual cards where clients can create unique card numbers and send them to specific merchants. And then some of the payables tools with like receipt capture on receipts and expense management. Like we can do a lot of that too. I think that not a lot of people are aware of. So love to involve you if that's kind of how you evolve your, one more of your product offering. I think we could bounce some ideas off you there. So
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
well, good. Yeah. Thanks again for hopping on, Sarah. Where can people best find you again? Where are you best? What's the best way to get a hold of you?
So we have a website, tsbusinessservices.com, that has a contact or a chat box in there. And then you can find us on Facebook, TS Business Services. And then you can obviously also call the office 208-918-8804. Somebody always answers. So.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, I appreciate it. We'll put that all in the show notes, and then maybe we can get another part 3 in later once down the road. So appreciate your time and have a great day.